Hey, so today I will be talking with Mo Fischer, my old friend Mo Fischer, who is an actor and a drag king. Mo created this cultural phenomenon called Club Casanova in New York City that just opened up a wave of drag king performances. Like it was the zeitgeist, and she was at the center of it. Now she lives in LA and is just has some really deep experiences with the transformation of grief and loss and recovery. So come along and join us as we talk to Mo Fischer. Why live? Oh, and P.S. I was having terrible technical difficulties during Mo's interview. I lost the first 5 minutes of her conversation. The internet went out. I'm completely bleached out for some reason. Nonetheless, mwah, gems. These are gems. So plunge ahead. Thanks.
Yeah, so I don't judge, any of these feelings, these emotions or experiences. I see them as opportunities for growth, for change, for newness, for to discover something. Every time I have a friend who, is going through something, I kind of sit and I listen. I put my ear in and I'm like, let's see how the universe shows up for them. That's
Mm.
actually what I tend to do because that's what happens. So if somebody's going through that growth spurt, that change, that tumultuous time, there we see how the universe shows up for them and what comes out of it. Always something comes out of it. Always something comes out of it. And I look at, from my perspective today, I see that something, if I go through something and I come out on the other side, I'm able to share that and hopefully inspire somebody else that you can get through this too.
Mm-hmm.
I've been clean and sober for a number of years, and
I
that
was going to
is,
ask you about that. Yeah.
yeah, that's like numero, and so that's where when I go to 12-step meetings. And so
Mm-hmm.
in the meetings, I remember hearing somebody talking about, oh, something I judged as banal. I was like, you're crying over that, fuck's sake. And then
Uh,
I had something, I broke a shoelace. It was like, oh God, I'm gonna have a horrible day. And I went, okay, it's the little things, and so that's where I clued in. And I was like, it's just a fucking shoelace. I'm gonna
mm-hmm.
get through this. It's a moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to ruin my whole day, my whole
Right.
life,
Right. Right. And these larger events have, as you say, this sort of impact that can shift us in ways that are, they create opportunities for,
And we don't know what those
and
opportunities are. Our
that's right.
limited thinking, we think, oh, it's got to be this certain way. And,
Mm-hmm.
I will do things where I'm like, all right, it's got to be like this. All right. And here's the agenda. And go, 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 go. And then I'll
Uh-huh.
face a wall and I'm like, fuck. And then I go, hang on a minute. Wait a minute. I've been pushing my agenda. What does the universe want? I've got this little, tunnel
Mm-hmm.
vision here that I'm, seeing. And then the universe is like, I got a bigger, better idea for you, sister.
Right.
Sister.
Can you think of any events where that, has
Ooh.
taken place in your life? Of I mean, I know getting sober or clean is a big one where like it looks like how am I going to live in the world clean and sober, and then life changes and it's amazing. But yeah,
I thought for the rest of my life,
yeah, right.
fuck, and I had my sponsor was like, what, just for today. And I was like, fuck you and your fucking just for today. I didn't embrace recovery, like, yay, pick
Hmm.
me, yay, woo.
Hmm.
No, I was like, fuck, man. How come I
Hmm.
didn't get the memo where I could go off and fuck off and have fun for the rest of my life and be a fucking asshole and dumb, fucking crazy ass drunk,
Hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, it was hard. Initially it was challenging because it was so new. And you pick up drugs and alcohol and kind of know what's going to happen. You're going to have a crazy fucking time, and unpredictable crazy fucking time.
Yeah.
And that the truth of the matter is, and then at the end result, it's not fun. It's not crazy. It's, it's demise of my soul, my spirit. And it's it's like, then you get into that same cycle of, self-deprecation and, just you're hating on yourself, and, and it's not fun. And, but then the fear of exposing myself, looking at, I think just being open and honest, that's fucking scary. Yeah. That can be really scary. And, I mean, so what happens for me today after, 30 some odd years of being, clean and sober a day at a time, my current sponsor says, well, how many days do you have today? So it's just for today, she really, one day at a time really drills that in. And I love that. And so I am accountable. I pray and meditate every morning. And at the end of the day, I am accountable for my actions. I look, was I selfish today? Did I have resentments today?
Right.
Was I in fear today? Was, what's the fourth thing? Wait.
Selfish, fearful, self-centered.
There's the fourth one.
Frightened.
That's fear, selfish, resentful,
and
angry.
Okay.
I was like, it's an A word, so, oh my God, it's so funny that I forgot angry, because I'm a total fucking hothead, and that's the first thing I do is with anger. Oh my God. And I mean, that's my motto. So for, with Moby Dick, instead of being an angry woman, I became a funny man. And so that's how I channel my anger in my art, and stuff. And, so because I'm, the fear, the anger that, behind, what I call PMS, patriarchy, misogyny, sexism. So many people ask, they say, oh, how come, we don't know about drag kings? How come? Oh, I've never heard of it. Oh, well, yeah. And I said, PMS, patriarchy, misogyny, sexism.
Totally.
So,
So in these, like, I'm just thinking like of specific events, like, so when you've had, I imagine you're someone who's been through quite a bit of loss. I mean, especially as recovering addicts, we lose people all the time, right? Yeah. So I'm sure you've had some big ones. Like, how do you go through periods of great suffering, or what can feel like great suffering, great grief? Or do you experience it that way?
I remember that book, Scott M. Peck, oh my God, what's
The Road Less Traveled?
Yes. And the first sentence, life is suffering. I was like, bestseller. never finished the book. That was all I read. And I was like, oh, good. Okay.
That's hilarious.
I like to come at it from a Buddhist perspective, in accepting it, and just accepting it. And, like the phrase, feelings aren't facts. And just suffering is, when I have that acceptance, then it's, I can breathe into it, allow it, let it to mutate, look to see, kind of marinate in it and go where, in a meditative way, and look and see, what can I learn? Is there something I need to course correct in my day? Is there something, do I have an old belief that is holding me back, from essentially bringing in that sunlight of spirit? And that sunlight of the spirit is me showing my soul and, who I am, and sharing the truth and beauty of who I am, because we've all been conditioned, and this is everybody conditioned as children. So I'm in several 12-step programs, and one of them, she says, from 0 to 15, it's impact only. And then from, 15 on, you are unraveling it. And unraveling that impact. And so part of that impact is, and it's not to fault and blame parents or,
Yeah.
teachers, anybody. So because it's my perception, how I
Hmm.
perceived it, how I heard it, how I incorporated it. As
Hmm.
someone who's in recovery, I have a mind that when information goes in, it takes a circuitous route. So it goes in and I, it's like process
Hmm.
it. And then I'm like, it's all twisted and then the person goes, that's not what I said. That's not what I meant. That's not what I did,
Right.
and I'm like, well, that's how I heard it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's how I perceived it. And so it's like untangling all of that. And so what I did essentially as a child is I formed an idea
Hmm.
that, oh, I'm not good enough because of X, Y, and Z. I'm
Hmm.
not worthy because of X, Y, and Z, because
Hmm.
of the outside circumstances that I perceived to be, that I.
Yeah, yeah. I can relate to
So
that.
today it's looking at that suffering. Part of that suffering is what I'm saying is self-induced because of those old ideas that I latched onto. So I'm unlatching that and freeing myself of that. So I go, oh, okay, I'm course correcting. Here's a new perspective. So
Mm-hmm.
I look at, okay, there's disease. We've got this disease and we've got this
Yeah.
kaleidoscope and we're looking at it. And then from this angle, then we turn it and look at it from another angle and then turn it and look at it another angle. So that's why I'm in multiple 12-step programs, because I'm looking at this disease from, different angles.
Hmm.
What is that disease? Like I said, it's my thinking, it's
Yeah.
perception, it's all of that.
Yeah.
And it's freeing my spirit from that. So I can be of service to others, and being of
Hmm.
service to others comes in the way of performing.
Hmm.
Being in service to others is saying, yeah, I recognize you, and here's a website, Drag King History. So here we
Hmm.
are.
Hmm.
You are valid. This is important. I have all these women whispering in my ears. So, and this is a form of empowerment,
Yeah.
because I'm showing, look at what these courageous women did. Look at what these pioneers did. We can
Right.
do that too,
Right.
so encouraging, others to do that. So, and that's a form of service. So that's where I look at, I like to come from that in every aspect of my life,
And it's
that's
a
it.
form of healing.
Mhm.
I
Absolutely.
mean, you're offering a kind of healing to the world, especially particularly in the environment we're in now, when we have a lot of pushback against the liberation of people,
Yeah.
from a toxic state of mind and being. But you mentioned childhood, and I, just it, my impression was that you had a very supportive family. What can you talk about your childhood, or?
Sure. I'll talk about my childhood, but also, so where we are today, I have a
Yeah,
perspective about that.
yeah,
That we're in the cusp of the Aquarian age. So we've
uh-huh.
got Piscean forces who are like, "Arr, arr," and then the Aquarian is like, no, we're moving forward. So we're like,
Hmm.
and excuse me, the Piscean age. So, or the Aquarian age rather, we're moving towards compassion,
Hmm.
unity, truth. Look at the cronies, the old cronies. They're hanging on. They're divisive. They're
Yeah,
cruel,
yeah,
and they're lying. So
yeah.
that's the antithesis. So just keep, I CUT, compassion, unity, truth.
Oh, I
So
love
just
that.
cut the
I
crap,
love it.
cut that extraneous crap. Don't focus on them. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Like keep going. The compassion, unity, truth, compassion, unity,
Yes.
truth. And so that's where we, so for like I'm performing in Texas in
Hmm. Oh,
April.
good for you.
Yeah, at Texas Women's University, April
Hmm.
13th. And I'm so proud of these kids because they fought back,
Hmm.
to that. The House of Representatives fellow who has a trans child, and so let's bring compassion
Yeah.
to the trans community in Texas, let's bring compassion to the parents, right? Let's
Hmm.
unify. And that's what's happening. That's what those kids were doing. And this, I'm
Hmm.
so proud of them. So they're not,
Hmm.
getting lost in the muck and the mire of the, divisiveness, the cruelty, and the lying. They're getting out there and doing it. I love it. I think it's
Yeah,
great.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I
And
think
I think we should have a campaign. Let's adopt a trans, person, have like this whole, and have everybody, a multi family. So then, I mean, how are they going to criminalize parents when this child
everybody's got to,
essentially, right?
that's
So
fucking genius. I love
if
it.
we adopt, trans person, I want to come up with like a different, like, a slogan, a title for that. It hasn't come to me. I need to,
It will.
like, I need to take a hot bath. That's where my inspiration comes.
Yeah, a cup of tea and a hot bath.
Exactly. So back to childhood. Yeah, so I grew up with 6 brothers and 3 sisters, and
Right.
it was supportive. My family is really cool in that, yeah, they all came out to my shows. They've supported everything that I've done. The part of the growing up was challenging because there were so many of us.
Oh, wow.
And I actually had, I was lonely as a child. Because you get lost in the shuffle of so many people.
I can imagine.
And it was almost the inmates had to run the asylum. You had to fend for yourself, and in some ways. So some of my old ideas, were just as a little girl trying to make sense of this, overwhelming chaos. And I have. I like order is what I realize. I like to be, organized and feel
Aries.
safe. And yeah, well, Aries with the Virgo rising.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Very ordered.
And I'm actually, I do bookkeeping now. I created a bookkeeping company where I help artists and, just organize their money. And so it's like, I have a Tetris mind. I can be like, organize things. So that's
awesome.
You know what I mean?
I lack that entirely. So I'm always like so awed when I meet people who are like that.
I have my brain, I can go the business realm and I can go the creative realm. So which is,
I love it.
Which is a gift. I realize sometimes I'm like, oh man, what is it like? Where did this nerdy, stuff come from? Where?
Yeah. So you had a sense of isolation and loneliness surrounded by chaos, I'm sure, and 100,000 people in your life. And that must have felt really acute.
It felt really what?
Acute, intense.
Yeah. Yes, it did. Yeah. It was overwhelming. It was confusing too, because, it's like, where do you go for answers? Where do you go for support? Where do you, and so I had to retreat in myself. And, as a child, there was times, like I said, I was lonely and, went through, depressions and self-hatred, and, I started drinking when I was 10. And,
wow.
I clearly remember drinking whiskey sours and, at a big party my parents had. And, I remember waking up with a headache. I didn't realize there was a hangover today. As I understood it's a hangover. And I just thought it was cool. I was like, oh, I'm like the older kids, I'm number 7 of 10. So, and the youngest female, so I thought I was cool. I was like the older kids, and that's what, kind of kicked off, I had long talks. My therapist his name was Jack Daniels. And
Stop.
We had many a long talk, me and him. And, so he became my saving grace. And, so, Sam, one of these days, I have, I'm a comedy teacher now. And, she was saying, Mo, I really can see you doing a 1-person show. And, so going from me to he and, or she to he, on stage and just, sharing life story and, and stuff like that. So that's been a dream of mine. And, I would love to do, say the, what do they call it? The Fringe Festival in Scotland. What's it called again? Anyhow, so, but, bring that to the world,
Yeah.
too. So that's, we shall see. But,
Yeah.
so, but yeah, I think, so much, like I said, stems from childhood perception and,
Mm-hmm.
experience. But like I said, and it's not to blame or shame anybody,
No, of course
it's
not.
putting the focus on me and realizing that's how I experienced it. Because
Hmm.
I mean,
And
everybody in my family, but they experience it in multiple different ways,
right, right, I'm
and my
sure.
family is very cool. They're
Yeah.
really cool people and
Yeah.
cool individuals, and supportive as a community. If any one of us is going through something, we're right there. My
Hmm.
oldest brother died of cancer in November 9th, of the day Trump got in office.
Oh, Mo.
Yeah, talk
Oh,
about a horrifying day. I was like,
oh
oh my God.
God.
Sam, and like, yeah, when you say about grief, that
Yeah.
I've had friends in recovery die, and you can see the demise of the disease.
Yeah.
And it's like cancer is the same thing, but it's like there was something about it that hit home, in a deeper way. And I'd never experienced grief. And that floored me. I went through a depression that I didn't understand, that I
Mm.
didn't know what grief was. I
Hmm.
leaned into this book that was talked about grief as loss,
Hmm.
and looking at loss in all forms, and the fact that we don't have language around grief in America. All the
Yeah.
different cultures around the world have ways to grieve. Because we're such a homogenization of cultures,
Hmm.
we've obliterated, that grieving process. And then people are like,
Yes.
like when your dog, you have to put your dog down to sleep. People go, oh, you get a new one, and you're like, no, but I love Teddy. That was our
Right.
dog put
Well, and
down.
we're also really anti-pain, what we perceive as pain. That we sell medications about pain. We glamorize pain and we
We
deify
eat, we
it.
smoke, we fuck, we drink, we do drugs, et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera. We binge watch Netflix and Amazon or whatever, all the
Yeah.
TV shows. We do whatever we can so we do not feel.
Yes.
Exactly. And
Yes.
that's where it's like the Buddhist meditation. You sit there and you can process. You're like, wow, I am experiencing grief. They have specific meditations on how to really
Right, right.
process
Was
and
this when things fall
move
apart?
through. With Noah Levine, when things
No,
fall apart, Pima Chodron.
Pima Chodron. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because
yeah,
that's a good one. But
yeah.
anyway, so you experienced a grief that was profound and new for you.
Oh man, it was intense. Where
Yeah.
I'd be driving, and then all of a sudden, this wave of grief would overcome me, and
Mm-hmm.
I went, wow. And my sponsor said, just feel it. Just feel it.
Yeah.
Just get into it. If you have to crawl in bed and, suck your thumb like a baby, do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. I just allowed that grief to go, like just to feel it. And there was one day I was just overcome by grief and crying, and a friend called, and I happened to call, and I was like, I'm going through it. He's like, I'm going to take you out to lunch. And
Mm-hmm.
so he got me out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I mean, I remember just sitting there, and he just was looking at me with so much love and just,
Mm-hmm.
and care. And we didn't have to talk or say anything. It was just sitting there eating, and then walking through a bookstore.
Wow.
And then it was like that breath of fresh air that I needed to keep
Mm-hmm.
going. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was intense. And my brother's death prepared me for my father's death 3 years
Mm.
later.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and I said that to my siblings. I said, I think Mark is preparing us for dad's death, because
Mm.
my father was just this larger than life figure, really dynamic person, and just, yeah, a fantastic guy, and very cool. And yeah, and so then we were able to walk through my father's death with grace and acceptance and
Yeah.
love. And
Wow.
that's because that's what our brother Mark taught us, how to go through grief and death, because his cancer was a really long process. And I remember we all gathered together and I said, Mark, what do you want? What do you want from us? What do you need from us? And he said, love, love.
Wow.
And he said it in this really profound way where he opened the space for all of us to have the dignity of our own experience. And from then on, we all said, none of us judged how a person, went through their grieving process or what they were going through. Judgment. We allowed each person the dignity of their own experience. That was a turning point for all of us. And it bonded us in this new way that before we didn't really allow that, and this we did and found this new connection, and then we're able to safely share what each person was going through, and in a loving way. Really, really, really spectacular.
That's incredible.
It really was,
especially in a family unit. Like, you just don't see that sort of vulnerability.
I can't hear you.
Yeah. So I was just saying that there's a sort of a vulnerability and candor that you don't see often in a family, especially around grieving, which is, can be so siloed and personal and like back off, that's really powerful, Mo.
It really, Sam, it really was. It was so enriching, so beautiful, and really, really just astonishing. It was really, really, really lovely. Yeah. We're very lucky. He led us, he led the way. He really led the way.
Right.
And for that, I'm so grateful. Yeah.
There are some people who
I said goodbye to my dad. Okay, I'm probably going to cry because this was such a powerful, it was June 26th of 2019. And I was on my way to host Man Candy, and my dad was dying. And I thought, oh my God, if he died, I don't want him to die during the show. I'm going to, like, what do I do? And I'm I'm on my way to the show, and my sisters put the phone up, and I was like, hey, Dad, and they said he blinked when I said hello, and he blinked when I said goodbye. And so he was there. I knew he was there, and I knew he heard me. And, I said goodbye. And I said to my brother, Mark, I said, Mark, I want you to take Dad's hand, and I want you two to come to the show. Come to the show, and I want you to, enjoy and have fun. And I don't know how they helped me get through the show. And it was this out of body experience I had. And people were saying, I forget the word they were using, but it was something in the spirit realm. They were like, wow, there's like this energy, this spirit here tonight. I swear to God, they use that. And like every time somebody said that at the end of the show, I was getting chills. And I was like, my dad and my brother were here tonight. And they, they were totally there, and they, guided the show. And it was this, I don't recall ever having such a magical show. Where it was like just buoyed, and the performances were so unbelievable. I mean, everybody that was there they were just blown away by the show. It was one of those things. I don't know if you can create it.
Right.
Yeah.
And what a just a lovely place to happen at, Man Candy. This is like really so great. Like, I love the universe for that,
Yeah.
It's really powerful.
I'm going to take a deep breath. Whew.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's really intense.
Wow. I could feel that like grief in my throat.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was intense.
I just read an article in the Times that they're not exactly pathologizing grief, but they're looking for treatment for people who are kind of stuck in grief for a year or more. And there are people who do get stuck there. It seems like you have this, I think this very Buddhist capacity to see it and be with it and move with it, and I think for a lot of Americans, because what you said, we're not trained, we're not, we don't talk about death, it's verboten, that we don't have the skill or the capacity to just be with it and go through it and go with it. And then we get stuck there, and people are still, they're suffering for years and years and years beyond this experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's bringing, the irony is bringing life to death,
Mm-hmm.
and that life by way of breath.
Mm.
Right. So bringing breath to the grieving process, and just allowing it, knowing it's going to move and flow through you. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a transformative power. That's what
Mm.
I found, like, wow, just how grief is so, um, how it softens me. And
Yeah.
like what you're talking about, that vulnerability,
Yeah.
and that being in touch with that I don't know what that is. Like that the juice of marrow of life.
I feel like it takes you to another level of humanity. Like
Mm,
you become a more expansive human,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
But that compassion,
Mm.
but it's all the spiritual principle, the Korean age, the compassion, unity, and truth. So when we're truthful of how we're feeling, and then, I bring compassion to ourselves for that
Mm-hmm.
feeling, of grief, and then we are unified with the universe again,
Oh,
because,
wow.
right, so we just, the truth of acknowledging, what are we feeling, what are we experiencing, having compassion for ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and others,
Mm-hmm.
and unify, like we all go through it, so there's
Mm-hmm.
that unity.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Right. We do. So what's going on for you now? Like you seem to be in a
Oh,
really good
it's
zone.
I am. Thank you. Yeah. So it's so, this is really, you're going to be like, what? Um, that I recently, don't know what, like Club Casanova's coming all back full circle.
Mm-hmm.
I did a podcast about Club Casanova that came out in January. We did a presentation, in New York, for Drag King history, the New York Historical Society. We did
Uh-huh.
October, and Ken Vegas, my project partner, was saying, uh, wow, you have a lot of information and material around Club Casanova. I think you should do a
Mm-hmm.
whole show around it. So I was
Mm.
like, okay. So that's how come we're doing the fundraiser around Club Casanova, because then
Mm-hmm.
the more we talked and explored, and I've never wanted it to be the Moby Dick show, it's always been,
Yeah.
you know, drag kings. Let's put drag kings on the map.
Yeah.
So recently, somebody said, "Oh, I have a bunch of clips from Club Casanova shows." I mean, what?
What?
Sam, I have not seen these ever,
Oh,
ever.
wow.
Yeah. So I've been,
Cool.
watching them and cataloging them. Like, all right, who is this, and who is in
Uh-huh.
this clip? What show was this? What was the date? I'm just, documenting
Oh
all of
my
them.
God.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen all this stuff. And I digitized stuff that somebody else had given me a few
Uh-huh.
years ago. I finally
Uh-huh.
digitized it. So I'm watching all this stuff
Oh,
from back then.
wow.
And some of what, um, so based on my perception from my childhood, I realized, I went into intensive therapy. This goes back to, in 2010, 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept, my relationships were not good, they were not healthy, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, what? And so, I'm going to come back around full circle with the Club Casanova, and I realized, wow, I don't know how to receive love.
Mm.
And I will put up this front, this defensive front, this angry woman, and this, like, don't fuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did 12-step recovery around relationships, and went into intensive therapy to learn how to receive love. And that's when I
Mm.
met my husband. And so
Ah.
part of receiving love is also, prosperity and abundance,
Uh-huh.
and so moving into watching these videos today,
Mm-hmm.
I'm from this new perspective, and this new, how I evolved and where I am today. I went, wow, I created a character that I don't know how to receive the love in that character, a very hard
Uh-huh.
character. And I
Uh-huh.
thought, interesting. So I thought, wow, I want to transform. And I've been wanting to transform my character and not knowing how. I've been wanting to do a one-person show, not knowing how. I met this fantastic woman, Bobby Oliver, and it's
Mm-hmm.
Bobbie. And
Mm-hmm.
she's got a show on the Amazon Prime. She's got a book, The Tao of Comedy. So she comes at it from a
Whoa.
spiritual Buddhist perspective. And I'm like, ding,
Wow.
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
So I had a one-on-one with her last week, and I went, wow, this woman's blowing my mind. And so she twisted and, kind of gave me some notes where it was like, this
Mm-hmm.
is how you can, turn up the volume here
Mm-hmm.
and there and course correct. And the result is owning my place on that stage, where I look back and I go, I don't know that I fully owned that,
Interesting.
like really in my power and
Uh-huh.
receiving the love. So now it's like shifting and changing, receiving the love and bringing more comedy to it, where
Mm-hmm.
and from my experience, so showing up, having the courage to show up, to be vulnerable and to be
Mm-hmm.
honest about my
Mm-hmm.
experiences in a comedic way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be taking her course starting next Sunday.
Oh, fantastic. That's going to be so good for you. Oh,
Yeah,
I can't wait to see what comes out of that.
me
I have
too.
to I have to say, Mo, like I saw you posted something where you were performing as Moby Dick with some queens. It was like
When was that?
it was not that long ago. They were like at a secondhand store, like a thrift store situation, or I could be conflating. I've been watching a lot of drag, so I could be mixing up stuff. But you were in it, and you had a girlfriend who was a drag queen. Does any of this ring a bell?
That was that in Boston?
It could have been.
So I don't know if I posted that. Did I post
Somebody
that?
posted it, but
Oh, okay. So Truth Serum, Eliza Shapiro, out of Boston, that I did. Truth Serum was the name of her company, and so she put this production. She was amazing.
mm-hmm,
She put on these shows, and it was this thrift store, and that had a
mm-hmm.
stage, and that was 2001, and it was such a fun show and great crowd, and she was
Was it that long
very,
ago? Because it looked really contemporary.
very innovative. I don't
I
know.
wonder what I
I haven't done
saw.
anything live since actually since um Dread, the Drag King, since
Yeah.
her memorial in February of 2020. I flew to New York for that.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was the last time I was in front of a live audience.
Uh-huh.
And
Interesting.
yeah, so I kind of feel like Dread is leading the way. I'm feeling her spirit too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, her death affected me a lot as well.
I'm
And
sure. I'm sure.
but I have this yeah, sneaky suspicion, you know what I mean, that she's kind of opening some doors for me. I really feel her love. I really
Uh-huh.
do. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And there's like that sense that you're just being led, like, okay, all right, I'm just gonna go there then. I
Yeah.
love that feeling. It's amazing.
Yeah. But that's when
Well,
it's when things start happening that you're going, how did that happen? That's where the universe is rolling out the red carpet. And
it's so
I love that.
true.
Yeah, I
It's so
love that.
true.
But
Well, you
yeah, so I'm really excited today because there's this like newfound um transformation and exploration in my character and evolvement, and that, like I said, I've been wanting that for years.
mhm.
And so it's happening, and it's happening on multiple levels. So we've got Drag King history. I can easily see that becoming a docuseries, a book, an
Totally.
art show.
All
I
of
can see
that.
like all of that and
All of that.
more, all of that and
Mhm.
more, because I don't
Yeah.
know what else the universe has in mind. And then
Right.
for me, a one-person show, something else. There's some talks about things happening with Club Casanova
Mm.
and that evolvement. I can't go
Yeah.
into it because these are just ideas right now,
Right.
you know,
Right.
so, but these are things like I thought, wow, from that podcast, there is stuff
Mhm.
that's simmering.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So, oh, you know what I signed up for that scares me? Bobby Oliver,
Mhm,
she has a festival. It's
mhm.
Riot Laugh Girl Comedy Festival. If I think I got that right. And it's via Zoom, so you can watch it. 3 shows a
Oh,
day for 6 days. And you don't have to be a girl. You know, there are multiple genders in the show.
mhm.
And I don't think they've ever had a drag king perform. And I thought, I'm going to do it. I got to do it. I got to come
Oh
up
my
with a bit
God,
and do it. And it's
yes.
not, and I've never done something like that before. And it scares the bejesus out of me. So I'm like, good. I'm scared. So that means it's good. That means growth and transformation. So I'm going to be inner class. So I'm going to come up with something,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Oh, that's
So,
wild. So what about it scares you, do you think? It's a different
um,
context?
because I am not, what scares me is I'm not prepared. I don't have a full set together. I don't have
Ah,
material that is
uh-huh.
I've culled yet. And so it's like calling that material, from
Mm-hmm.
within and like I said, exposing the vulnerabilities, like, "Oh, is this funny? I don't know if this is
Mm-hmm.
funny,
Mm-hmm.
like just those sometimes the doubts, the insecurities can come up.
Yeah,
And
totally.
so it's new. That's what
Yeah,
scares me. It's new, it's
right.
change, it's growth. So, and that's where
Yay.
it's scary and exciting. I'm more excited than I am
Uh-huh.
scared because initially I was like, oh, fuck, this is scary. And
Right
then
what I
then
signed up for.
exactly. And
Yeah.
then I'm like, okay, now I'm excited,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm one of those like areas, like I can fly through something really quickly.
I'm a fire sign too, so I'm like real, yeah, burn right through it. Yeah,
Exactly.
so when you before you go, I'm just thinking about Moby Dick being a sort of more three-dimensional character. What's that going to look like for you? Like, do you have thoughts about that, or you're going to see?
I think I'm gonna see, yeah.
Mhm.
And what do you mean? What do you see as three-dimensional? What does that mean for you?
Well, I think for me with Moby Dick, I think the way that you inhabit him is going to be different because you're more you, having done all this work. You're more you than you've ever been. You have access to more material, more mo than you ever have. And you talked about commanding the stage. Like, I feel like Mo is now going to have this presence on stage that's going to be really powerful, and I'm excited to see it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. And when I created the character, he was homophobic, he
Uh-huh.
was sexist,
Yeah.
and it was personifying the things that I loathe in loathe in men.
Mm-hmm.
And so coming at it from a feminist perspective. And so I want to transform that homophobia, the transphobia, all the phobias, all that hate,
Mm-hmm.
transform that into comedy. So I can expose it in a different way rather
Mm-hmm.
than be it, then rather than be it, then see, then I want to see it. Do,
Yeah.
do, you, do you know what I mean?
I
Like
yeah.
see it, like expose it in a comedic way rather
Yeah.
than become it.
Yeah. Because that's not
So
funny.
no, after a while it's not, so, but it was, when I did it, in the 90s and aughts, early aughts,
Mm-hmm.
it was funny,
It was funny. Yeah.
because you're seeing this woman personify this toxic
Mm-hmm.
masculinity and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
ugh, but you're like, wait,
It
that's
was
a woman.
hilarious.
And it was funny,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I was able to do it in a comedic way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but softening those edges, and like you're saying, more of me coming out and occupying that space in a different way. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's definitely going to be really transformative. And like I said, I've for years, I don't even know how many years I've been wanting to do a one person show. And
Mm-hmm.
now I feel like I got it. It feels like, because I was like, I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So now
Now's the
feels
time.
I'm ready,
Yeah. Well, I
at
imagine
nearly 57 years old.
61, baby. We're still
Party.
rocking it.
Sam, I'm approaching my second Saturn return. my first one, I was in this, I was living in New York City, and I was going to the New School for Social Research and just fumbling around, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life and just confused and what career to be doing. I don't know. And summer of 95, I was in Provincetown, and I remember this woman, Monica, and I don't remember her last name. And I was saying, yeah, we were on the beach, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do, with my career. She's like, pick one thing and pursue it. And I was like, okay, and then I met drag kings there, then I heard about drag kings in San Francisco, realized there was this whole transformation and I could do it too. Then I was like, oh, okay. And then it blew up and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't know what I'm doing. And, because everything happened so fast. And now it's like making more informed decisions and stuff. But, so here I am in my second Saturn return and going, I want to do the drag king stuff again. And there's more I need to say and do. I don't know what that means. And starting with drag king history, now evolving more into Moby Dick, and it's going to blow up. Because, and that's just the universe. And that's not me being obnoxious or
no.
It's just, I'm like, that's fate. That's the way it's supposed to be, because I could not control the wave of press and accolades and books and documentaries, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that occurred when I was doing Club Casanova to begin with. And now, I mean, right after we did Drag King History, was it 7 or 8 people contacted me to interview me for something.
Right.
I was like, how did that just happen? And Ken was like, Mo, I don't know what it is about you, but you are a press magnet. And I'm like, I know. It's like, I put it out there and then people are like, their antennas are like, and I'm like, okay, I'm in the right direction. Thank you, universe, for rolling out the red carpet.
I love it.
So it's going to be exciting to see what happens.
Yes, it is. I can't wait to see. It's going to be brilliant. So is there anything you want to leave the people with, or any dates that you've got set up or whatever?
Gosh, the first thing that comes to mind is, well, firstly, for dates and shows and stuff, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, MRMOBDICK. Because I always, posting there. So, I've got April in Texas, June in Denver, and then Berlin and Barcelona in October.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah. So really excited about that.
Wow.
I want to go to Ireland and England next year. That's, put it out there. To reconvene with my peeps in Ireland.
Oh, sweet.
But the first thing that comes to mind, what I want to leave people with, that not if, but when you're experiencing challenges, suffering, difficulties, things that seem impenetrable or confusing, overwhelming, and I can't get through it, just know you can, and that life's challenges are transformative. And they are all about growth and change. You're not alone. Reach out, connect with others, and allow the love.
I love that. And love you. Thank you, Mo.
I love you, Sam.
Thank you so much.
We've been friends and connected for all these years.
In really weird sort of tangential ways. Yeah. So it's great to be able to actually spend a minute with you. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for allowing this and bringing me in. I really appreciate it.
All right. And
I'm really proud of you for doing this. I think it's really cool and it's really powerful.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope, I was in a really dark place. So I hope that it's helpful for people. Yeah.
Well, what's helpful for you will be helpful for others.
This is true. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you're bringing love and light, and that's what's beautiful. And so that's it's like the moth to flames,
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rub that in. Take care.
All right. Bye.